Welcome into Saints Now. I am Will Scott. We are breaking down some roster cuts in this video. But first, if you hate the Falcons, which you better if you're a Saints fan, go down and subscribe to the channel because we are all about the New Orleans Saints here at Chat Sports. I want to get into this before we talk about the roster cuts because we're seeing a lot of cuts happen around the league today because NFL teams must get their rosters down to 53 by tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time. So they have until then to get the rosters down to 53. Most teams around the league have made about 5 to 6 cuts today. The Saints, one of those teams, they have cut 6 players today. We're going to get to those names in a second. Here they are. Malik Washington, Josh Black out of Syracuse University, Quentin Meeks, Brian Allen, Derek Kelly, and probably the most notable name there, Abram Smith, a UDFA running back out of Baylor. A lot of us were really excited about him, but he just didn't really get the reps we wanted in the preseason. The ones he did, don't think he took advantage enough. However, he could still return to the practice squad. He has to clear waivers. If no team picks him up, he'll have the option of probably returning to the Saints practice squad. And then at that point, he'd be, let's say, a Kamara suspension or an injury to running back away from being elevated to the active roster. Here's what he did in the preseason. 13 carries, 35 yards in the preseason finale against LA. Against the Packers, 9 carries, 25 yards. Against the Texans, a pretty solid showing outside of that fumble. 7 carries, 30 yards against Houston. Definitely want to wish these guys the best, so type good luck down in the comments section. We hope these guys land on their feet, find another home here in the near future. Now, before the roster is finalized tomorrow, we did want to get you guys a final 53-man roster projection. So instead of position by position, we're going to kind of do this numerically, kind of go 1 through 53, but we begin with the quarterbacks. QB1 is obviously going to be Jameis, Andy Dalton, QB2, Ian Book, QB3. Those are the projected QBs, but Ian Book's going to the practice squad. I think that he's not going to make the 53-man roster. I don't really expect another guy. I don't expect another team to pick him up. Dalton and Winston, the 2 quarterbacks that are going to be carried here. Now, taking a look at the Saints running back depth chart, you got Kamara, Ingram, Washington, Tony Jones Jr. Pretty good chance that all 4 of those guys are going to make the team. Here is what we have. We do have those 4 making this roster: Kamara, Ingram, Washington, and Jones, with Adam Prentice as the starting fullback on this team, the one fullback that gets carried. Before we get into more, we do have a sub battle going on this week between Saints Now and Falcons Today. We're trying to get more subs than our rivals over there with Atlanta Falcons Today. Go and hit that big red subscribe button. Moving on to the wide receivers. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Marquez Callaway, Jarvis Landry are the top 4 on this team. Then you have a battle for the final couple spots. Here's what we have. MT, Olave, Landry, Callaway, Deonte Harty, Kirk Merritt, Rashid Shaheed making this team. Yes, Merritt and Shaheed making this team. That is the wide receiver projection because Shaheed is a very, very good special teams player. Moving on to the tight ends. Here, taking a look at the tight end depth chart here. They might carry anywhere from 3 to 5 tight ends, starting with Trautman, Hill, and Johnson. Here's what we have. We have Trautman, Hill, Vannett, Johnson, and Lucas Krull making this team. The Saints carrying 5 tight ends. Krull very, very much on the roster bubble. Hopefully they figure out a way to keep him on this football team. Moving on to the offensive line now. So with Penning out, you're going to see Hurst is the starting left tackle, which even if Penning was healthy, probably would have been Hurst anyway. McCoy, Ruiz, Ramczyk, Peat, that is the starting 5 in terms of the offensive line. Here's what it looks like in general. Hurst, Peat, McCoy, Ruiz, Ramczyk, Martin, Throckmorton, and Landon Young are our projected offensive linemen making this football team. That is who we think is going to make the team on this offensive line. Trevor Penning, though, is going to the IR. He's out indefinitely with a foot injury, so we obviously learned of that fairly recently, but he is heading to injured reserve. Who do you got in the first game of the year? Is it the Saints or it's the Falcons? Type NO for the Saints or type ATL for the Falcons down in the comment section. Go down, chime in. while you're down there, you got to go set up your BetUS account, right? Promo code chat125, chatsports.com/bet. You can bet on the Saints all year long. It is the best way to bet through BetUS. The Saints a 6-point favorite. Pound -6, man. The Falcons are a terrible football team. I don't care if this game is in Atlanta. The Saints are going to win this game by double digits. They're going to score 48 points. So take the over. Take the Saints -6. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code chat125 for a 125% deposit bonus. Moving on to the defensive line now. This is a very much a depth position for the Saints. A lot of depth here, so some tough decisions to be made. Here's what we got. Cam Jordan, David Onyemata, Shai Tuttle, Marcus Davenport, Kentavius Street, Malcolm Roach, Payton Turner. We got Tanoh as well, Carl Granderson, all making this football team, with Jordan Jackson going to the practice squad. Taking a look at the linebacker position now, and this is an interesting position. A lot of unpredictability here. You've seen Hansen have a pretty good preseason. Here's who we have making the team amongst the linebackers. So Hansen not making the cut. Demario Davis, Caden Ellis, Pete Warner, John Bostic, who they recently signed, Andrew Dowell, the linebackers we have making this team. Before we get into more, I do want to know, who is your favorite all-time Saints player? Go down in the comment section, chime in. All-time favorite Saints player. For me, it's got to be Drew Brees. That's my guy. Getting into more projections now, we're moving on to the cornerbacks position. Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the guys that are going to start at that position. Here's who are making the team. Marshawn, Adebo, Roby, and Alontae Taylor making the team amongst the corners. Alontae Taylor, a second-round pick out of Tennessee. He's looked great. Moving on to the safeties now. This is another interesting position. Daniel Sorensen very much on the roster bubble. And we are looking at some more roster projections here with Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, P.J. Williams, Justin Evans making the team at the safety position. Last but not least, special teams. Blake Gillikin, starting punter. Will Lutz, thank goodness Lutz is back as the starting kicker. Zach Wood as the long snapper. Again, these are just roster projections, but tomorrow we're going to get you guys the roster, the 53-man, the second it drops. Now type Whodat if you made to the end of today's video. We'll give some shout-outs on the next show. Type Whodat if you're all about the Saints. Again, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time, we will see the 53-man roster finalized. Could happen before then, honestly, but that's the deadline for teams to get those roster cuts in. So be sure to turn on your notifications so you miss anything, because we're going to get you guys a video tomorrow.